Welcome to the Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. I'm your host, Suzan Chin-Taylor, CEO and founder of Creative Raven, the firm that helps wastewater industry contractors and manufacturers unlock the power of digital marketing, AI, and PR to boost sales and opportunities. Whether it's through our online marketing and lead generation programs or providing a fully outsourced marketing department, we are passionate about helping businesses in the wastewater and civil infrastructure sectors not just survive, but thrive in today's digital world. Each episode, I'll be bringing you expert tips and strategies to help you grow and succeed. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. Today, we're going to have a really interesting visit with Dr. Marissa Jablonski. And she is a consultant for our industry, but also serves as a director for the Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin. And we're going to be talking about a lot of really interesting things today. So welcome to the show, Doctor.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Well, we met through LinkedIn. And as you know, that's like one of my favorite places to meet interesting people, in this industry. And the conversation started out with one thing, and then I learned about this wonderful project in Wisconsin. But I'd like you to share with the audience a little bit, you do consulting in the space. And something that we are both very passionate about is we know that we probably already reached almost critical mass problem with labor shortage across the board, not just for wastewater, but water, stormwater. And the importance of that this has to be looked at as one water. And we have not done, not for lack of trying. It seems like we're really falling short in whatever it is that we're doing to get young people excited about coming into the space. Mm-hmm. So you brought up the topic of collaborative communication across the spectrum to get people to talk better about this, and also to kind of eradicate the stigma of what a career in this industry is really all about. And you've led a fascinating life in this industry in that you've traveled all over the world. You've worked on international projects. I'm going to let you talk about that. But what are some of the things that you are seeing in, your travels that you feel are going to help move the needle to solve this problem, to get more people excited, like we are, about having a job, or I should say a love affair career in this industry?
Perfect. Well, I think the first thing is I teach at the university level as an adjunct professor. And one of the things that comes up a lot with young people today is that they understand that we have one water, one air, one soil. We are one earth. We are all connected. And it's really remarkable, this generation of people coming up into the water field can understand and feel that at a much deeper level. People are traveling around the entire earth much more freely than ever before. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about grand water challenges or water issues that are plaguing communities, what we find is that we have more awareness about this because of social media, because of the internet, because of computers. And then we also have a desire to bridge those understandings because all people are the same. So with that in mind, when it comes to drinking water treatment and wastewater treatment, which are my field in environmental engineering, I'm also an environmental scientist, which is all interrelated.
Right.
We have to remember that, what was the example that I used? A toilet needs water to flush. It needs liquid to flush. Right. But does it need newfangled technology, or do we need people to understand simple technology and then respect people and societies and communities in a way that allows for us to help each other? right? You and I have both spent quite a lot of time in India and know that some communities don't have toilets. Okay, then let's get them toilets, right? But they also need people to understand that this is a technical job to maintain
Right.
toilets and infrastructure to make sure that everyone gets their needs met in the wastewater treatment field. I hope that makes sense.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
and it's the same when it comes to drinking water. So when I think about embarking on a consulting job in water engineering, the first thing I do is assess the situation. What's there and what is the real problem? So I talk to all stakeholders involved, understanding all issues involved, and seeing, okay, do they actually need a water engineer to come in and assist? Or is it something that can be done locally, or what can happen? And then really finding those champions who are behind the concern, the issue of concern. So I do a lot of consulting with energy reduction, water reduction, waste reduction all over the globe. And that involves some engineering, but it really involves communication first and foremost, right? Making sure everybody gets on the same page and understands the real issues at hand and is communicating so everyone can have their needs met. And then we can move forward and actually solve the problem together. All of that are things that young people and older people are interested in. I just see the younger generation coming in with a specialization around communication that I've never seen before. It's like,
Really.
yeah, it's awesome.
And I wonder about that because often, I'm sure we've all experienced this if we have children. You're sitting at the dinner table and they're busy texting on their phone. I had a situation where my two stepsons, we have triplets, but two of them were out to dinner at a restaurant and they're both on their phones texting, and we see them laughing, and we realize they're texting to each other. And I said, guys, he's sitting right across from you. Why aren't you just like, when you talk about communicating, why aren't you talking to each other? But my husband was wise to it. He says, because they don't want us to know what they're talking about. It was
Yep.
like, oh, okay, in that case. But you're saying that, and then yet I hear other things about that the younger people, because they've been born with these cell phones in their hands, and especially, coming on the heels of COVID when we were so isolated, that we're almost having to relearn how to be social animals and communicate with each other face to face in a live situation. Here we are at a Zoom meeting. And I think, although this technology is fantastic, who would have thought, when I was growing up, that I'd be on a phone call? I thought that was only something, a TV phone call. I thought that was only something that Jane Jetson did on the Jetsons. And here we are. But young people, that I think it's just really interesting that they now have all these different ways to communicate. And you're saying that they like this level of communication.
Absolutely. When I agree with you, they may be more comfortable on their phones,
Yeah.
but what I pay attention to is I'll start a discussion with my students. I run the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee student chapter of Engineers Without Borders, and
Oh,
we
nice.
design and build water systems with indigenous communities in the East Shield Triangle of Guatemala every January. And then we come back, we've assessed a project, we come back to my classroom, we design the project, February through May, and then we construct the next project the following January. And we'll be in discussions and design discussions, and all of a sudden people are quiet. And I look at them and I say, well, we were just talking, so what's happening? And one of them is saying, well, I'm looking up, an answer to your first question. And the other one says, I'm looking up the answer to your second question. I'm looking up, and then the discussion will continue. So there may be more lag time in the conversation, but
Okay.
there's just as much interest and involvement. I have a wonderful student right now who will openly say, look, I'm not good at being vulnerable, but I really do appreciate this one-on-one conversation. So she might get back to me a week later and have an answer. But she also was pretty young during COVID and it affected her a lot, right? So yeah, it's a different form of communication, but
Mm,
people are very, very interested. They're also very strong with written communication because of the amount of texting. So there's a lot
right.
more, if I want to get something done, I make a phone call. They don't do that, right?
No, no, they do
They'll write
not
out
like phone
elaborate notes,
calls.
right?
Yeah,
So,
it's as a person that prefers to just jump on a call and get
right.
it done instead of going back and forth on texting. And I'll tell you, the dictation tool on the new cell phones has been a godsend for me because
Yeah,
I watch these kids, they're going so, oh Lord, it would be 3 hours from now by the time they're through in 30 seconds for at least for me. So yeah,
right.
I also think that the young people, maybe we haven't communicated this as well, is they're very interested in careers where they feel like they're going to really make an impact. That seems
Absolutely.
to be more important to this
Mo-
particular generation,
Right.
that I'm contributing to something that's bigger than myself.
What I think is so interesting about that is it's the same with females. So before I went into engineering, I didn't even know what an engineer did, right? I had no idea. And people said, you're really good at math. You should consider going into engineering. And I would say, I don't want to be, this is honestly what I would say. I don't want to be a man who works in the basement of a school and fixes the furnace. That's what I knew as an engineer. And my mom hooked me up to have conversations with other types of engineers, a mechanical engineer, a civil engineer, a chemical engineer. And I thought, wow, what they really work on is solving problems. And she said,
Mm.
yeah. So you have to decide what kind of problem you want to work on. And then I learned about Engineers Without Borders and started working on drinking water issues. And then I started my PhD, which works on wastewater treatment of textile dyes. So that's how I found my way. Now, my PhD was actually paid for by a National Science Foundation grant to recruit and retain women and others who are currently
Oh,
underrepresented in engineering. So when it came to, I mean, gosh, when I got my PhD, I think we were 13% female in the College of Engineering at the University of Wisconsin. And now we're up to 17%. You go to India and China, the female to male ratio is 50-50.
right.
Now, women don't necessarily stay as engineers in the field when they choose to raise their families in many instances, but they at least are 50-50 in school. Now, when I was reading about all of this, what became apparent is that females choose fields where they can make an impact. And money would be nice, right? But number one is impact. The other key point is connecting and understanding their instructors. So their professors and their teachers. So if a female takes a class and doesn't connect with their teacher, which happened to me during my master's degree in engineering, I graduated and said, I didn't learn anything. I have no idea what I did for the last 2 years. And my mom would show me tests that I took that I got A's. And I would say, yeah, but I don't really understand. Once I connected with my professors during my PhD and started traveling around the world and implementing engineering water systems and wastewater systems, I was like, I get this. This makes sense. I'm an engineer. And I could own that word. And I would say that for young people today, it's very, very similar. I think the days where we put our head down and plow ahead and blindly follow an instructor, that's gone. Now you need to be able to explain, well, how does this apply to my everyday life? Right? And I've taught at the technical college level as well. And the truth is that's my favorite way to teach. Because if we can't, as teachers or professors, explain the validity to what we're teaching and how that's completely applicable,
Mm.
then what use is it, right? Whenever people say, why would I have to learn this in math? I've got a million ways that I use calculus every day, at least in my mind. I don't necessarily do calculus problems anymore, but every single time there's a dessert on the family table. I'm thinking about, Thanksgiving pie or something.
Okay.
And there's one slice left, but a bunch of people want a little bit, and that slice gets littler and littler and littler. Think of calculus. And I think that is the chain. And like how small can this piece really get?
Yes,
So
that's hilarious.
want to see this, right? You look around and we see science and math all the time. Now, to be clear, I think the arts are key. I always say that the arts make life worth living, but science and math explain the living. But I think it's important to understand that the upcoming generations won't just take because I said so, or this is the way we've always done things,
Right.
the reason to continue doing things. It just won't work. Now we have to have more interaction and discussion and understanding. And I
Yeah,
think that's
absolutely. And I think it's that we need to create careers or jobs
yeah,
within cities that touch on those points, that allow for that engagement, that incite innovation, and people, like you were saying, because I said so, or this is the way that we've always done it, is that it has to be a place where they have to be fearless in saying, well, why don't we try this? And for someone to say, well, okay, how can we try this to prove our concept without, of course, when you're talking about water treatment or wastewater treatment, without putting the community at risk, but
right.
let's try to figure out a way that we can test some of these new ideas. And I
Absolutely.
think when you're an organization that's innovative, when you're an
Mhm.
organization that has brought technology into the mix, like SCADA, and even thinking about, there's new AI tools that are coming out there now to help with you, that will get young people excited that you're really thinking ahead here, because those are the things that they want to work with. They want to be part of this. And as
Sure.
much as we may be fighting or bristling against, AI is going to take jobs. No, AI is not going to take away jobs. I see AI in some ways as creating jobs,
Mm.
creating different types of jobs that are going to be exciting for the young people to come in, and being able to look at data and operations in a totally different way. Because right now we haven't solved this shortage, and it's probably going to be a while before we do. So those who are left behind through this silver tsunami, I'm hearing it all the time when I'm interviewing plant operators. Like I used to have a crew of 10, and now I have a crew of 6, but yet we still have to get the same amount of work and maintenance and testing that we did when we had a staff of 10. How is that limited crew going to do that? The only way they're going to be able to do that is by bringing in technology tools to help them.
Right.
We have to stop being so risk adverse in certain areas. We don't
Right.
want to put the public safety at risk, but we have to be open, you know?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so this kind of like gives us a segue into, we're going to continue our conversation in our next episode about how you've applied some of these principles from your consulting and your travels around the world into this project called the Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin. And when you told me a little bit about it and I did some research, I think this is something, and I really want you to do a deep dive for our audience, because I truly believe that this is something that could be applied not just in the United States or any state, but it could really be applied anywhere, because we're all
Absolutely.
facing these problems. And so
And
with that, yeah, so with that, how can people connect with you and what you do for your consulting and get in touch with you to learn more?
The easiest way to reach me is through my website, which is marissajablonski.com. One R, two S's in Marissa. And Jablonski is just as it sounds, although not everybody, that's not an easy name for everybody. JAB as in boy, LONSKI.com. And you can also follow me on my social media, which is Marissa Jablonski or Plastic Free Marissa on Instagram, where I put out daily inspirations to help people and organizations work with planet Earth, which means work with the air, water, soil. And then when it comes to the Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin, you can visit us at freshwater.wisconsin.edu and reach out if you have any questions whatsoever.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing our dialogue in the next episode. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. I have found this very, very interesting. Lots of thoughts to ponder. Hope you have too. And I hope you join us for our next episode next week. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you're ready to take your marketing to the next level and start increasing sales and opportunities for your business, reach out to us at Creative Raven. We're here to help you thrive in the digital landscape. Visit creativeraven.com or click the link in the show notes below to schedule a call and learn how we can support your growth. If you enjoyed the insights on today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you'll never miss an update. Until next time, keep growing and keep it flowing.